Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Even though I'm going to be cooking a zucchini quesadilla in this video, since it's not the main point of this video, I'm not going to be giving you a recipe. I may give you like a point by point what I'm doing, but my main thing I'm here to talk about is social media and some communication theory that I've learned in college so far. So I wanted to cook, but I also wanted to talk while I'm cooking. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of both. So yesterday I made a zucchini quesadilla and it was really good, so then I figured since I already have the ingredients to make it for the next few days, I might as well do it, and I might as well do a little video about it. So just put some oil in the pan. So every day people are criticizing social media and they're also on social media. I've been a long-time critic of social media, but I've also used it for a lot of my life. I was on it when I was not supposed to be in middle school, got in trouble, had to stay off of Instagram, whatever. I was allowed back onto social media, specifically Instagram, in high school because I had to write an essay. It was a whole thing, but I got it back, and I've always had like my main private account. I've had a public YouTube one, but I no longer have that because it was just kind of annoying to have to like post on there. But at the end of 2024, I deleted Instagram. I also had TikTok, so I deleted TikTok, but the reason I deleted both of them was because, honestly, following the 2024 election, I thought I need a break from social media. So that's what I did, but then in March of 2025, I came back to social media, at least Instagram. I only got TikTok back once school ended for the spring semester of 2025, and then I got TikTok back for summer. But since I had a few months... Since I had a few months off of Instagram, I was like, I kind of want it back. So that's why I got it back around this time last year. So it's been a year since I've been back on Instagram, and I've kind of changed how I use it. But in August of 2025, I deleted the Instagram app and the TikTok app from my phone just because I wanted to focus on school. And I didn't want to have to like delete my accounts all over again, especially because on Instagram I've had a private account, and so I didn't want to have to find the same people to follow again, do that whole thing. You know, there's some people that still haven't followed me, maybe because they either don't care or they're like, is this someone impersonating him? Or honestly, again, they could just like not care that I'm back on there. But I'm now limiting my usage of Instagram, which I'll talk about later, because it's worked for me, and I think it'll probably work for you too. But from my being on Instagram and off of it, and same with TikTok and same with other social media platforms, what I've learned is that it generally is harmful. While I haven't looked into any research about whether it's addictive, whether it makes people feel suicidal, whether it actually encourages people to self-harm, to starve themselves, all this stuff. That's a lot of what people are talking about, and I'm just going to be honest, I haven't looked into any of that at all, but there's two main ways that I have noticed in my own personal experience that social media is harmful. And the first way is that it's very easy to waste your time. I used to be the person that would scroll endlessly on Instagram and on TikTok, because it's very easy, there's stuff that's funny, there's stuff that's shocking, and the most popular stuff tends to be the most extreme stuff, whether it's extreme violence, just extreme stories in the news, or people having extreme opinions. Whether you agree with it or not, the algorithm is like, well, this is going to keep a lot of people on the platform, so I'm going to show it to them. So the algorithms have to keep us on the platform as long as possible, because that's how they show us the most ads. And so the more time we're on there, the more ads we get shown. The algorithms are trained to maximize profit for these companies, which makes sense. All public companies and even private ones, they have investors to talk to. They have investors to prove that their investments were worth it. So I understand why they're trained the way that they are. So first, it's easy to waste your time, but Secondly, passive media consumption, which is what most of us, if not like 99% of us, do on social media, is not good for our media literacy. Especially because if you get news and entertainment and, if your news app is social media, if your entertainment app is mostly social media, and then also if you stay in touch with your friends, whether it's sharing photos or sharing posts or just texting, if that's all in the same app, our brain separation of those three things is less and less. Our brain, it's hard for us to separate news from entertainment if we're getting it from the same media channel, which would be social media. And also, a lot of stuff that happens on social media honestly doesn't matter in the grand scheme of the world. But because of the outsized focus that's given to it on social media, it can make us think that it's important when really it isn't. Another thing I want to point out, which I've talked about already, is that a lot of critics of social media still use it. Me, for example. There's only one exception that I know about, which is Sarah Wynne Williams. She's an ex-executive of Facebook. Meta is basically Facebook, so she was an executive in Facebook before Facebook rebranded to Meta. So I have yet to see her on Meta, probably because she knows all the dangerous stuff that Meta, then Facebook, did. She actually wrote a whole book about it, which I read. Great book called Careless People. It's named after a quote from The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. So, great book. I read it. I gave it to my mom, so hopefully she reads it. Hi, Mom, if you're watching this. But great book. So she's an example of a critic of social media that I actually haven't seen still uses it. But I'm someone who critiques social media a lot, yet I still use it. Does that make me a hypocrite? Maybe. Personally, I actually don't care if it does or not, because there's some stuff that social media is great at, and then there's other stuff that social media is just not great at. While I continue to saute these vegetables, I want to talk about the uses and gratification theory. I'm a public relations major, which means I take a lot of classes about communication. So many that I forget the names of the classes, and I just remember them based off their names. So I learned this in a communication class, I want to say last fall. I forget the name of the class, but amazing professor. She was amazing. So this is a theory that was brought up in that class, and it was actually brought up in my current class that I'm taking called Survey of Public Relation. But the theory basically says that media consumers have needs, and they choose to consume the media that they do consume to gratify those needs. I could have said it better, but I'm trying to follow my notes and cook at the same time, so it's a little hard for me to do that. For media, there's three main needs. The first need is to stay informed. The second need is to be entertained. And then the third need is one that I had never actually thought about before hearing about this theory. And that's in order to experience shared realities. And an easy way to think about this is just think about the latest celebrity that had the wrong opinion that people are talking about. Right now, that would be Timothée Chalamet. He said that he doesn't care about opera, he doesn't care about ballet. He was like, no offense, but I don't really care about it, blah, 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 blah. So, a lot of people are talking about this right now. Does it matter in the grand scheme of things? A lot of people would argue yeah. I would argue no. Even though I disagree with him, I enjoy ballet, I enjoy opera a little bit. I watch clips on YouTube, but, I don't enjoy it a lot. So would I disagree with him? Yeah, but are his comments that important in the grand scheme of things? Also, no. But us, me, you, your family, your friends, us seeing this discourse online is a shared reality. You could argue this is also staying informed, but like I said before, Timothée Chalamet's thoughts on this aren't that important, so I don't think it would qualify as staying informed. I just think it would qualify as being part of a shared experience. It smells so good. I put in garlic and cumin. It's so good. The recipe doesn't say to saute the jalapenos with the zucchini, but I thought it would be kind of fun to do that. What these shared realities do is that they give us conversational currency. They give us stuff to talk about. So again, like I said, I don't really care about Timothée Chalamet. I don't care about his comments on opera. I don't care about his comments on ballet. But it gives me something to talk about because you know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. Just in the sense of we both know this thing that's happening. I'm not saying that we both know all the facts or all of that. Just that we both know what's happening, so then we can both, you and I, we can have a conversation about it. Also, think about cultural phenomenons like Barbenheimer. Maybe you didn't watch Oppenheimer, maybe you didn't watch Barbie, or you watched both of them, you watched none of them, I watched both of them. So even if you did or didn't watch both of them or either of them, you still knew about it. And so that would be a shared experience. What's interesting to me about the uses and gratifications theory and about social media is that I think social media actually defies it, because the uses and gratifications theory says that the consumers choose what they consume. Meanwhile, I think social media defines that, especially because if you look at our intent of using social media versus what actually happens when we use social media, it is very different. So the reason I think social media defies this theory is because the algorithms that the platforms use to show us the media are rarely controlled by us, the users. I'm explicitly talking about like Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. YouTube, while the algorithm we can't control, it's still different than the others just because YouTube is much more long form. So I do think that the form of content, whether it's long or short, does actually change whether it follows the uses and gratifications theory or not. So in the case of social media, we're choosing the channel that we get the media we consume instead of the media itself. So we choose to use Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, or just one of those three. We choose to use one of those, but it's the platform itself that actually chooses the media it shows to us. Because while we can search, we can search for certain things, we can search for certain trends, we can search for certain people. That's not the main use. If we wanted to do that, you would go to Google or another search engine like Kagi or Ecosia or DuckDuckGo or Bing. So it's different than a search engine because we usually just don't go on there to search things, we just go on there to be served things. I'm actually going to sprinkle some salt on there as well. If you asked someone like me last year when I got Instagram back, if you were to ask me why I decided to get back on Instagram despite all of the downsides that I know about, I'd probably say, well, I want to stay connected to family and I want to stay informed. But Instagram is not the best way to do that. The best way to do that would be to text, would be to call them. Like, there's better and richer ways to do that than Instagram or than TikTok. My camera's overheating. No, stop it. I don't know if it's gonna have a cheese pull. Doesn't that look so good? It looks so good. Look at that. That looks amazing. Now I'm gonna cut it into smaller slices. This is gonna be leaking zucchini, I think. Right? Probably. Oh, so crispy. Oh my gosh. This is gonna be so good. I don't even think I'm gonna need salsa for this. I ate salsa with it last time. My camera gave me an overheating warning, so it said to switch to 1080p, but when I touched it, it didn't feel warm at all. So I don't know what it's talking about, but I just had to downgrade the video quality. Now I guess this is kind of like a mukbang, but let me pull up my notes. Social media is great for being entertained and, living in these shared experiences, like I said, but it's not great for staying informed because news requires context, whether it's historical or like current context, but it also requires nuance and someone that can explain to you all the facts. If you just get your news from Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, even Twitter, it's not a great way to get your news. People are limited to the amount of video they can upload, and even then, even if someone does a 10-minute video on TikTok, it's you might as well just post it to YouTube. Why are you on TikTok doing this? So it's just not great to get your news, especially because you're getting your news and your entertainment from the same place. So a lot of people kind of treat it the same way. I have seen people talk about the Epstein files in such a disgustingly, emotionally, detached way that I don't think it's just that they're trying to cope with this. I think it's that it genuinely feels like entertainment to them. Why are we using memes to talk about the Epstein files? Why are we using reaction pictures in comment sections to talk about... Why are we talking about pedophiles this way? It's disgusting. So I think it's kind of an example of, if you get your news from social media, it's going to feel like entertainment rather than news and being informed. Even though some of us would like to say that we're informed by staying on social media despite its downsides, that's hardly the case in practice. We're being served memes, we're being served celebrity gossip, we're being served these like random influencers. I feel like every day there's a new influencer. Basically what I'm arguing is that we approach using social media with the intent of staying informed and then also being entertained. But because we can't control the algorithms ourselves, our intent to stay informed and to learn about things is disregarded by social media. I shouldn't let this get cold. Ooh, that's a jalapeno. Wow, that's spicy. Like you've probably heard, you can train your algorithm. There's a whole trend of saying like, yeah, I placed this brick here when I was building my algorithm brick by brick. So you can train your algorithm by liking what you like, by leaving comments on stuff you're interested in, scrolling past things you don't care about. I'm sorry, that was really spicy. And also being intentional with who you follow. I only follow probably like between 10 and 15 people I've never met in real life, so that would be like influencers. I don't even know if I would call them influencers necessarily. Like some of them are influencers, but also one of them, she's just like an artist that makes art, so like she's not really an influencer because, you know, it's not like she's influencing me to really do anything besides follow her and look at her art. These algorithms are incentivized to keep us on the platform as much as possible. And if we want to be intentional about our social media use, it's hard work. It's hard work to stop after watching every reel and think, who posted this? Is it correct? Is it factual? Is this something that I should care about or not? Should I even have an opinion on this reel that's being shared to me right now? Being intentional with our social media use is hard work, which is why it also discourages us to even use social media in the first place. I have learned that I cannot be intentional with my use of social media while also giving myself unlimited access to it. I cannot be intentional with my use of Instagram if I don't limit myself. Basically, if social media platforms weren't beholden to shareholder value, then we could get better use out of them. Not to sound like a communist, but
I detect a little communism.
Before I tell you how I limit my social media use, I do just want to say that like it's different for everyone. I'm a full-time college student without a job, so this is what I do, but for you, limiting your use of social media is likely going to look different. So I limit my use to Instagram 30 minutes a day through Apple's screen time settings, and then during the weekend I do an hour a day. So an hour on Saturday, an hour on Sunday, and then Monday through Friday I only get 30 minutes. What this does is it prioritizes me actually keeping up with people rather than just mindlessly scrolling, since I only have 30 minutes a day. The key to being intentional is about making your access scarce. If you don't make your access to Instagram scarce, then you're not going to be intentional. And then because I only have 30 minutes a day during the week, I avoid scrolling reels since I know I'm just going to be trapped in a loop. And sometimes I will say I do scroll reels, but because I'm aware that I only have 30 minutes, I scroll like 3 at a time or 5 at a time. Like I don't spend that much time on reels. Some days I don't even press on Reels or the Explore tab. I just like use Instagram DMs and I just use people's stories and I just scroll through their posts. Like that's it most of the time. The last thing I did was I actually increased my consumption of long form content such as YouTube, podcasts, and reading. Like in 2025, I read 16 books. That's more books than I have ever read in a year in my life, and probably like 50% of the books I've read in my life too. Like, you can do amazing things without spending all of it on TikTok and Instagram. But something else to note is that we shouldn't be taking in content every single waking moment, which is something I do, which is awful for my brain, awful for my mental health. I rarely give my brain time to stop taking in information and to reflect on itself and to reflect on my life. Like the other day, I took a walk without listening to music, without listening to a podcast. I didn't even bring my earbuds with me. I just had my phone and my house keys. I took a walk around my neighborhood. It felt amazing. This is what people used to do. This, you know, if you're like a boomer, you're probably going to be like, yeah, this is what I used to do when I was a kid, and that's why my childhood was so great. You might have heard of the trend called analog bags, where it's essentially a tote bag or a purse that you bring with you places to discourage use of your phone. So people bring books, people use word searches, people bring like knitting or crocheting projects, you know, to do with them instead of being off their phone. So while I think it's great that you're limiting your use of your phone, something we should all be doing, including me, is just being used to not doing anything. To not doing anything with our hands, to not consuming content and not taking in information. Because even when we take in information passively, it's still something that our brain has to process, though obviously not as much as us actively consuming content. So give your brain a break. That's it for my rant on social media. If I can find the recipe online, I got this recipe from a cookbook, but if I can find it online, then I'll post a link to it in the description. Yeah, this is really good. I'm gonna eat this before it gets even more room temperature. If you like this video, subscribe, leave me your comments down in the comment section. Just please be respectful, and I'll see you around on YouTube.